So a little while ago, I did a video going over fake Nintendo games that I got from Amazon, and a lot of you seem to really enjoy that video, so I thought I would do another one, this time ordering fake games from eBay. And I got a couple here that I thought were kind of interesting, a bit of a mix with some basically just trying to be the exact thing and others being full-on ROM hacks and even some of those large compilation cartridges. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. First up, we do have Pokemon Soul Silver, a counterfeit copy of it. We talked about this before in the last video where Pokemon games just get reproduced constantly. And at times, yeah, they try to pass them off as the real thing. I mean, this should be a red flag immediately when you see the price on it. Sure, if you look at the front of it itself, especially with the sticker they put on it, they did their best to recreate it and have a higher quality cover, but it's also $15 on eBay, and the legitimate copy is much, much more expensive than that. So you should start to, of course, question that immediately. But for the most part, if you look around it, Pokemon Soul Silver, they even have like the little Nintendo kind of engraving here. So they did their best to recreate this as close as possible. Let's actually pop it into a DS Lite though. It does come up as Pokemon Soul Silver and you can launch right into it. You know, I've thought about getting either Soul Silver or Heart Gold again. They went up in price so much. And I know it's because Pokemon is really, really popular. I mean, it was always popular, but recently I know they had the anniversary going on and all of that, and that really blew it up even further. This seems to be playing like you would expect Soul Silver to play. It's been a while since I've had it. I had Heart Gold back in the day, and then I traded it in, like we all seem to with some of those titles back in the day, and now I wouldn't mind going back and picking it up. It's just very, very expensive, and I feel like I'd want to get it complete with the little Pokewalker thing as well in the box. I mean, it seems to work as you'd expect, and generally with reproduction carts, especially for the DS, they'll save and all of that as well. I feel like they do run the risk more so than like legitimate copy where the save data will get corrupted. I am curious though to take a look inside of this. So I was able to basically cut around and rip this guy open here, and I just wanted to see what we're doing. Okay, so you have a glob top here. You have like your, it looks like that is the main chip that you would use to house the ROM itself. I mean, if you put this next to what a typical DS game looks like this is Mario Kart, yeah, a little different there. I guess the one thing that's unfortunate is with Super Nintendo games or N64, any of those, you can open it up pretty easy with a screwdriver and just show, yes, this is a legitimate copy, it's not a knockoff. Unfortunately, with the DS, you typically end up doing some damage to the plastic shell just to open it up. So you're not gonna do that, and these are probably much easier to pass off as legitimate copies. But I guess it is functional. I just really can't recommend it because I've seen them corrupt save data pretty consistently, that being like the counterfeit Pokemon games. Next up, we do have another counterfeit Pokemon game. That being a bit more obvious though. You can see it is Pokemon Crystal, looks way different than what Pokemon Crystal normally would look like, where it's in like the Game Boy Color cartridge and it's a different type of blue. This one you can even see completely through it and see that the board is like a half board. It's also not using the game bit screw, it's using like a tri-wing screw. So this one, I mean, it's a bit more obvious that it is a knockoff game. This one also fires right up as you'd expect, Pokemon Crystal version. Doesn't seem to have any real issues. Let me go through and see if it does have a problem saving though. All right, so I saved, turned off the Game Boy, took the cartridge out of the Game Boy, and now we're gonna see if the save game is still there. It is. And it's still holding the time that they have for this one. I am curious what the board looks like. I mean, we can see it's a half board from here, but the front sticker is kind of covering up the opposite side, which by the way, this is funny because it has like the Nintendo seal of quality. That is completely blurry with this label. So even that is pretty suspect immediately. And they don't have like a battery in here. It looks like, I mean, before they used to, I know with some of these older like older titles that they had on like Game Boy years and years ago, it would have a battery. This one looks like they're just using like a glob top here, and I guess they're just saving everything to the ROM itself here. That's interesting. See, because it didn't have an issue saving, and it also had the clock functionality working. So it's interesting there's no battery in there, but maybe they managed to figure out not having to use one, which probably saves them money in the long run. Although, once again, I have always been concerned around these when it comes to corrupting save data. But I don't know, maybe they're just finding solutions for some of these issues with these counterfeit games. I'm sure technology's gotten better as they've gone along and it's continued to evolve. I mean, I'm sure there's a pretty good market for this stuff on eBay or Amazon. Considering what prices of some of these games have gotten to, there are probably people who they understand it's not the real thing, but it's like, oh, I can save like 80% buying that version of Soul Silver or this copy of Crystal. All right, we're sticking with the handheld scene for one more game because last time I had that compilation cartridge for the Super Nintendo. It only had like 100 games though. How about 500 games? Yeah, this is 500 in one. In fact, it's so many games that they attempted to put them all on the back, and the resolution is so poor, I can't read it. Like, it is bad. I mean, this seriously just looks like lines, and it's supposed to be all of the games listed on the back here. To be fair though, it does look like they printed it out on some pretty cheap like office paper and just sort of jammed it in there on like one of the worst ink printers ever. Let's see what we have going on here. We have one cartridge. Weird, they put it in this plastic like casing. They didn't even bother to stick it in here. It feels almost like a waste of this plastic casing. They could have just stuck in it. Maybe they figured if it's in shipping, it'll just get thrown around anyway and it'll pop out. I mean, looking at the front here, they do have like Ninja Gaiden, they have Crash, they have Naruto, Dragon Ball Z. It does look like they at least have some pretty popular games on here just from the front. Well, after taking out of that plastic casing, this makes a lot more sense. It has an SD card in it, which tells me this is basically like an R4 card or an Ace card or whatever brands we had out there even now. But before, this would be very popular. You get like an R4 card, drop an SD card in there and load a bunch of ROMs. And I feel like that's what they've done here. They put a label and box art and all of that, try to dress it up some. So it comes up as SpongeBob's Atlantis SquarePants from THQ. Anyway, I launched it and it comes up Ace 3DS Plus. So kind of what I figured. It was just like an R4 or an SD card loader, essentially. And they just loaded a bunch of DS games on there. So you just go to NDS in the menu and you go to SD card and yeah. Basically, they're just selling ROMs on eBay. Although I feel like this is pretty common because I see these everywhere, and I guess it's profitable to them to get these cards maybe in bulk, put a really cheap SD card in there, and just copy and paste ROM files from their computer. Also, they really did stop at exactly 500 games. No more. Not 501 or 502. You hit down, goes right back to the top. Anyway, just pick a game, it'll load it up, and then it'll start up as you'd expect a regular DS game to start. You can save and all of that in here, and then you can turn it off and power it back on. So unfortunately, not much in terms of a groundbreaking idea or method to get 500 games onto a DS. I mean, the plastic on the front is barely on there. It just pops right out and this falls off. And there you have it. So I think it's pretty obvious. You could just cut out the middleman here and you can get your own R4 card or whatever. It's already very popular to do, and you can just load up any backups or things you have onto your SD card and pop them in. But yeah, these 501 games that they have on eBay or Amazon for the DS are basically just dressed up R4 cards with some box art. Now let's switch over to the console side of things, as I did get a Nintendo 64 and a Super Nintendo game. They're both technically ROM hacks, although one is kind of a ROM hack and translation. This one, however, is pretty straightforward. Yeah, Nintendo didn't put Mario characters in GoldenEye. This is a modification that's been around for a long time. Where they did just that. They essentially went in the GoldenEye characters, they replaced with different characters from the Mushroom Kingdom. The thing I like about this though is the cartridge itself. I really like this red with kind of like this sparkle effect to it all the way around. They even did like the Game Pack sticker on the back here with the front label being all custom and everything. Let's see what we have going on in here. And yeah, it's not even like necessarily painted on the outside because it's the same inside. I guess they just had access to different shells that they could drop it onto. And yeah, very similar to the other N64 game that we checked out here in the last video. Actually looks almost like the exact same setup that we had there. Okay, here we go. This is Mario in GoldenEye. Not really sure what to expect here other than just that we're gonna have models changed out. I was curious about the intro. All right, so they even put Mario in the intro here, which I guess if they just replace Pierce's character model with Mario, everywhere you'd expect to see 007, it would just be Mario. Yeah, there it is. So I guess they'll go through all the different characters. We have Mario, we got Princess Peach, Luigi, 002, Princess Daisy they even put in here, Bowser. Okay, so here we go. First mission. They have a red shell Koopa down there, and I think that's who you end up shooting and fighting against mostly in this game. Yeah, our different Koopa Troopas here, which is I mean, that's again an interesting idea, I guess. Oh yeah, that's definitely GoldenEye. That's the 10 frames per second we all feel like we know and love. Yeah, this is it's hard to see him in the distance, but yeah, those are definitely very large red shell Koopa Troopers. They have like the sunglasses on. Let me get really close to him. Yeah, he's got like the smile going on. Ooh. Take him out. Okay, we got the sniper rifle, so we can snipe out some of these Koopas here. Got him. See, this is actually easier because their heads are so large. Like, I assume the hitboxes match that? I don't know, because that was really easy to just take them out like that. I mean, it really is that simple. They just took Mario characters and put them into GoldenEye, so the game isn't, like, dramatically different or anything. I mean, it feels like a different experience because you have these massive red shell turtles that you're shooting instead, but you're not getting, like, a brand new gameplay experience. Oh, they changed his character model for when you go into the watch for the start menu, and his arm is like unnervingly thin. That's just really weird for some reason to see like Mario's arm like that. And then finally, this is one that I've actually seen before. I've even played it because for a while there, you'd see reproduction carts floating all over the place, and we had some fun making them back in the day. And this is one that was requested quite a bit because it is a game that Nintendo made available at certain times of the day in a certain region, a game that they did through the Satellaview that kind of played off of the original Legend of Zelda with different characters and even different maps. And this one was pretty cool because it has like a full box that comes with it. It's even like sealed completely in plastic here, which will open up. All right, there we go. Plastic is off. This one I found on eBay, and it says from, I guess, Immortal Gems up here. Now, these box arts at times are custom done by, I guess, the people who make the cartridges and all that as well, the reproduction carts. Other times, I think it's just like or box arts that's been floating around for a while and they just repurpose and print out. But on the back here, it says BS The Legend of Zelda was an expanded version of The Legend of Zelda that was released for the Satellaview attachment of the Super Nintendo Entertainment System in Japan. BS stands for Broadcast Satellaview, and the Satellaview unit is commonly referred to as the BSX. Using this add-on, gamers could download the game from the satellite and save it onto either the base unit's memory or onto a BSX special broadcast cassette. I do like the setup of the box art though. We got the couple of different screenshots here, the description, we have markings on all sides of it. So no matter, I guess, how you put it in on your shelf, you'll at least be able to see the logos. And we open it up here. Oh, I like the cartridge. It's a different color. And I think there's, I don't think it's a manual. It looks like it's a poster that they did for it. See, that's a nice touch to kind of include something like that. At times, you'll get manuals with these things, depending on, I guess, who makes them. But remember, they have to go through and make the entire manual then. So at least like a poster like this that is double-sided is pretty cool. They put another like plastic protector over. So we had one over the box. The box was also sealed, and then we have plastic over this. So, I mean, they went above and beyond when it came to trying to, I guess, just protect this in shipping. Take that out of there, and it's supposed to be like a, kind of like a gold or bronze color to it. The label looks pretty good. Typically how these would get done, depending on how, I guess, DIY you'll go with it, they might be done on like photo paper and then you go to laminate with a very thin laminate and then you just glue it down. Other times people would actually get the stickers done by like larger office companies that will typically do like labels and stuff for different corporations. I've seen it done either way, but I do like when they do the backing as well, because sometimes you just have this blank and it just looks empty then. But no, they actually did the back here. They did the full label. I don't see any peeling at the top or any kind of residue from the glue. Also, I like when they decide to just make the cartridge a completely different color because it tells you they're not trying to pass this off as like a legitimate game or anything. I mean, the cartridge different color. It's a game that's never released technically, physically on the system, because the broadcast to Teleview was an interesting idea. We make fun of Nintendo because of them being pretty bad at online play, but they had the idea to have basically internet for the Super Famicom, and they would even stream games to it. Things like this base Satellaview Legend of Zelda, or BSX Zelda, would have different blocks of time. I think it's like an hour or so a week where you could play, and different events would take place in the game, and it would actually change week to week. Anyway, with the 2 screws out, we can pop this open real quick. We do have a new battery here, and I guess the good thing is they're using new boards, so they're not destroying like old boards or old games in order to create these. That's sort of what a lot of us were doing back in the day when we would make different reproduction carts and like ROM hacks and stuff. We'd have to take an old board and just destroy it. Usually it was like Madden or different sports titles where there's just so many of them on store shelves, but still, you would have to ruin a game. This is a newer board. They're from retrocircuits.com, and it looks like they're using an M27C322. I think that's a 4 megabyte chip. It's 32 megabits. And this game was like 2 megabytes. So the chip itself is a little larger than what they needed, but it is probably a cheaper, I would say probably a cheaper chip to use. And then in collaboration with this board, it gives a pretty solid, I mean, cartridge that time. You don't have like a T-SOP or anything with a bunch of solder connections that could go loose. This is a pretty solid reproduction cart. Does look like things have gotten a lot easier since I remember making different reproduction carts with these newer boards. Almost like things just kind of drop in now compared to having to run wires all over the place. Okay, so here we are in the BS The Legend of Zelda. And as you can see, it is technically based on the original Legend of Zelda game from the NES. Visually, it does look better on the Super Nintendo here, or the Super Famicom technically, but it did run through the Satellaview, so every week there would be different events or new things happening in the game. And yeah, Nintendo kind of had their own live service back in 1995 with this Super Famicom add-on. They have a couple characters you can pick from here. They have what looks basically like Link, they have a girl, and they have a boy who has a baseball cap on, I guess. Let me just do, that's fine. And they have map 1 or map 2. I think they actually split it like vertically, if I'm remembering correctly. I was going to map 2. So I mean, you could see it visually, it does look better than what the 8-bit counterpart looks like on the NES. There we go, I got my sword. And I mean, it's The Legend of Zelda. You essentially would just run around and just kind of explore the map. You do have that counter on the side there, and I never really got super into this game. I mean, I've played it before, but I didn't like go all the way through it or anything. And it was always interesting to me, the fact that you have like a certain time that you'd be following as events would take place. There's a little map at the top to make it a bit easier. Unfortunately though, they don't have obviously landmarks or anything there. So I can't exactly say how different the map is that I chose here from the NES map. I guess if you're someone who's played through the original Legend of Zelda game several times and maybe you want something a little different, but still in that kind of that setup, this isn't a bad thing to check out here. I haven't spent a ton of time with this game on the Super Nintendo, Super Famicom through the Satellaview without the online that they had set up before. So I don't really know how this will actually react as you go along. But it's just an interesting concept that Nintendo had here. And unfortunately, it was never fully realized. They even had the idea to take it to the Nintendo 64, but once again, they decided to cut that down pretty quick with that N64 DD. So who knows what Nintendo would have come up with if this, for example, went global and went to like the States or other parts of the world. Although I kind of think it might have been a bit harder to schedule things out with different time zones and the way that they had this set up on a weekly time period, but it would have been really cool to see them try. There's also another one that I think was a bit more advanced. It was Legend of Zelda, the Ancient Stone Tablets, and that one, from what I remember, played off of A Link to the Past, and they went full on with that game when it came to like scheduling and different parts of the game unlocking over time. It's one that I've always wanted to kind of get and add to the collection with like a box and all of this to make it look nice, so maybe I'll look into that one next. It's also interesting to see how people put that together because technically it needs 4 different ROMs, I believe, loaded on. So trying to figure out how to get that on a Super Nintendo board was always a whole thing. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for fake games that I got off of eBay for the Super Nintendo, the DS, the Game Boy, and the Nintendo 64. I talked a lot about the Satellaview in this video, and I've thought about maybe doing a more dedicated video to that down the road where I actually get a hold of one, we open it up and check it out and everything. So let me know if you'd like to see that, but also let me know what you think about some of these different counterfeit game pickups, some of these ROM hacks. There's always some interesting stuff out there to check out. So if you guys like these videos and me just randomly picking these up off of Amazon, eBay, and other places, let me know and I'll do more of them. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.